Let me turn my screen on. We want you to just take a look at this. We're going to start with properly identifying signers. So let me get my share screen here. And can you see the 3 ways notaries can properly identify signers?
Yes.
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 All right. So we want you to take a few minutes and just take a look at this. We're going to talk about this. This was produced by the National Notary Association. And we want to come again, whatever we do, we still have to compare it to what Maryland says, what the state of Maryland says. So if you all would take a look at that and tell me when to scroll down. Let me see, there's just 2.5 more pages. So I'll give you a few minutes.
Ms. Harris, can you make it a little bit larger?
All right, if I make it larger, okay. That, I want you to be able to see one page. Can you see that a little better?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and I think there's something you can do on your end too to make your screen larger. I don't know what it is, but it's something you can do also.
Elaine, there's one more line on the next page, so you can, yes. Yes.
Well, there's a lot more on this page too.
Okay, right.
Excuse me, did you call the roll?
No,
Not yet.
Oh.
Okay, so you all reading this, right? You ready for me to flip?
Yes, please, ma'am.
All right, I give you another second there. Or either, let's do this. Fred, you mean just show them the identification part and then you
Yes,
discuss,
yes.
you discuss that part and then we go to the other part. Yeah, that would be better. Okay, I gotta do this. All right, Fred, let them know when you want to discuss that part.
Okay, well, let them finish reading first.
Oh, you want to read the whole thing or just that part?
Just
Okay.
to the part about ID.
Okay, that's this right here, right?
Yes.
Not personal knowledge.
Not yet.
Okay, got it.
You're doing personal knowledge anyway.
Okay.
Okay, now we're going to do ID. Now, after you read this talks about states around the country, but we're dealing with Maryland. And in Maryland, and we went over this earlier, our last class of all those who were there, last class, and it was talking about a notary officer has personal knowledge as the method of IDing people. And personal knowledge has to do with how long you think you've known someone, and do you think you have known this person long enough to identify them with, I'm sorry, we're on ID cards. With the ID cards, there are several ID cards that are acceptable to the state of Maryland. It's a passport, a driver's license, a consular ID, and or a government issued non-driver's ID. It also can be done with an ID that has a government ID that has the signature and photograph of an individual and is satisfactory to the notarial officer. So here it tells you what other states do in order to use an ID card. But in Maryland, we have these 4 specific issues that Maryland allows you to deal with when someone presents an ID card to you. So You can also, you use a driver's license, which is really the best thing to use when identifying something. And what you have to do with this ID is make sure that you write down the appropriate information from their driver's license. Again, most of the time what you need to do is write down their name, the driver's license number. If you want to, you can use the issue date, but they also want the expiration date. And again, the ID number for it. And when you look at it, you make sure that the signature is on there and the picture is the picture of the person who's in front of you.
So what I'm going to do is do this right here. It's always good to
compare.
Yeah, so let's compare. All right, so here we are. Again, this is from the National Notary Association. Now let's take a look exactly as to what the state of Maryland says. Let's see.
You need to widen it a little bit for the state of Maryland.
Yeah, I'm trying. Okay, no, I can move this over. There we go. Well, I got widened it a lot for the state of Maryland. Now it disappeared. Okay, so based on what you went over here as to what NNA is saying, it won't allow me to move it. Hold on, let's see. Okay. And looking here as to what the state of Maryland says, do you have any questions about the government issued identification?
Ms. Lane, I'm not sure I know what a consular identification is.
It has to do with someone who goes to an embassy around either here in the United States or someplace else, and they are issued a consular identification as an American citizen. That there has to be an identification for. Actually, it doesn't have to be an American citizen if they get an identification from a U.S. Consul's office or a U.S. Not a consul's office, but a
Embassy?
Embassy, a U.S. embassy. And they use that as their identification when they come to get something notarized here in the States or in the state of Maryland.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I want to confirm, I think that we covered before that you don't have to have, it doesn't have to be it could be expired. The ID could be expired.
Yes, it could be expired, but they sometimes actually write down the expiration date anyway. But if it's comfortable, if you're comfortable with what the ID that they have, even if it's expired, you're allowed to use it.
Okay.
And then that goes down here. Let's see, this last part here is saying, you know, a notarial officer may require an individual to provide additional information. So therefore, if you were faced with that, an expired driver's license, you know, you would want to ask for additional information, identification also. You know, again, you have to feel comfortable. And that goes back to when I told you about the situation where the guy had given me his passport, and then I realized that he hadn't signed his passport. And so then I asked him if he had a driver's license, and he did not have a driver's license. So, you know, based on that, I had to refuse him. All right, so therefore, when it comes to identification, though, you come back here and you take a look here and make sure it meets all the bullet points. Make sure you understand when something says or, you know, it can be one or the other. And then when we come down here to B, another form of government identification issued to the individual that. So even though it says, you know, contains the signature, but there's an and here. So it has to contain a signature and a photograph. Okay, and then it says and is satisfactory. So you have to make sure all those things are in order. All right, so let's talk about reiterate personal knowledge. Let's see. I'll go ahead and all right, let's take a few minutes and read over here. All right. So, you know, those are good guidelines by the National Notary Association. And then when we come here and see what the state of Maryland is saying, a notarial officer has personal knowledge of the identity of an individual appearing before the notarial officer if the individual is personally known to the notarial officer through dealings sufficient. So we're gonna have to sort of, you know, define what that really means, dealing sufficient, to provide reasonable certainty that the individual has the identity claimed. So now let me ask you, those of you who, you know, work, you're around people, would you be comfortable notarizing for all of your coworkers or maybe just some of your coworkers?
The ones that I have sufficient dealings with.
And what do you consider that?
Where there's been at least a handful of acquaintances or, you know, daily interaction at a minimum. Because I've actually run into this exact scenario where, yeah, people that I know at work regularly, I have no issues notarizing things, but random people, you know, I haven't done them.
Right, right. Yeah. So let's see, Fred, have you ever done personal knowledge?
No, I haven't.
Yeah. I have not done personal knowledge, and you know, we've been notaries for 19 years, but the law sort of relaxed or changed as of October 1, 2020, whereby if I had to, I would feel a little comfortable with it. But prior to 2020, it was not listed in the Merlin Handbook. So, you know, before 2020, if my neighbor, whom I've been living next door to for 30 years, had come and asked me to notarize, I would have asked for identification. Now, I think I would do it under personal knowledge.
It's written such a way with the ruling for instance, 2020 makes it easier to say that I've known someone only a few years, but long enough that I believe the person is really who they say they are. But before 2020, it was so vague that you thought you might need to have known the person a long time, even like you said, that you knew the person from birth almost.
Yeah. Now, before we go any further, Crystal Brown, are you on?
Yes, I am.
How are you?
I'm okay. I'm better now.
Okay, everybody, if you don't know, this is the lady you talk to all the time, the coordinator of our department here, Crystal Brown. So Crystal, did you get my email?
Yes, I did. And I just sent it to you. That's why I said I'm doing better now, because I thought I had sent it last night, but I didn't.
Okay.
So I don't want to interrupt anything, but I just wanted to say good evening, everyone. I'm Crystal Brown. I'm the program coordinator for continuing education, business, and entrepreneurship programs. I'm so glad that you're here. I know that you all will learn a lot. And if you were in the previous class, Notary Public Procedures, you know how thorough Elaine and Fred are in their teaching of notary principles and practices. So I welcome you all tonight. And if you have not registered for the Advanced Notarial Procedures class, I advise you to please do so. At the conclusion of that class, you will earn a certificate of completion if you've taken all 3 classes. So enjoy this evening, and Elaine and Fred, thank you all so much for your dedication and for bringing so many students to Prince George's Community College. And I will sign off now so you all can continue on. Thank you so much. Have a
Thank you,
good
Okay,
Crystal.
and when
Thank
you
you,
get a
Crystal.
chance, send the sign-in roster too,
Yeah, I will. Okay.
when
Thanks.
you get a chance. Okay,
Okay.
great, thank
Alrighty.
you.
Thank you.
Glad you were there.
Mr. Harris, Miss E, I have a question. This is
Go ahead.
Sonia. So in the journal, I printed out the sample journal that you sent us. And when it talks about
Mhm.
personal knowledge, so I'm looking at all the different things that you have. And when it talks about identification of the signer, so if we're doing personal knowledge, how would we just put personal knowledge? How would that be documented is what I'm
Isn't there a
looking.
checkbox there?
I see personal know, okay, yeah, personally known by that notary. And that's all we have to do is just check that box.
Check the box, but you also fill in that person's name too.
Okay.
I'm sorry. That's the person you're identifying.
Okay.
Actually, just
We have to write the name and address
put down,
anyways.
put down any information that you know about that person.
Okay, any information. Okay.
Yes.
Right, right. And because remember, the whole purpose of a journal is like 2, 3, 4 years from now, if you ever call on to court or called by the Secretary of State, it's going to help you remember. So in addition to, like Mr. Harris says, putting down that person's name, and like you were saying, if you want to put any other identifying information, that's just fine. Okay.
Okay,
All
so
right.
we're going to credible witness now.
Okay, so let's stretch this out. All right, so there's credible witness.
Okay. Okay, this is credible witness. Then you read the states or the NNA portion of credible witness. Again, in Maryland, we at one point, credible witness is only used if someone comes to you and has a document to be notarized, and that person does not have an ID, and you don't personally know that person. So if you don't personally know that person and that person doesn't have ID, well, how can you notarize for that person? Well, that person can have a third person come in to identify them as their credible witness. Now, before October 2020, the person would have to be known by the notary and by the signer. The credible witness has to be known by the notary and the signer. After 2020 of October 2020, has changed a little bit. You can still do it that way. You can still have personal knowledge of the signer and of the credible witness as a notary. But now, if you don't know that credible witness can now present to you a valid ID card that you can use to have them act as a credible witness for this third person. So if someone comes to you, they don't have ID, and you don't personally know them, there can be a third person there called a credible witness who can be a person who can identify that person for you as a notary. So what happens is that if you don't know that person must show you their ID, and you must take their ID information and write it down. Plus, you also have to give them an oath, the credible witness, an oath, saying that they really know this person and that they identify this person through their personal knowledge of this person. So, and if they could take the oath, they have to swear to the fact that they really know this person.
Let's see.
Excuse me, Mr. Harris.
Yes, go ahead.
Is that oath to the credible witness a certificate?
Well, there's
It's a verbal declaration.
It's a verbal declaration, and that oath is in the handbook. Hey, Elaine, can you get to that page?
Okay.
I can't get to it right now, but basically it's, do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalties of perjury and upon personal knowledge that you know Mrs. Jones?
Right.
So that's the verbal declaration that you would give. And like Ms. Harris said, it is in the book. I just can't turn to it at the moment. I don't want to lose my little page here.
Right, I understand.
Okay.
Any more questions about credible witness?
I did a credible witness actually about a month or so ago. I may have told you all about it. I'm not sure. Ms. Harris and I have so many classes, but you know, someone came here from the college. So, you know, he came here to get something notarized. And then what I didn't understand is that when I asked him for a driver's license, he didn't have one. He drove here though, but he didn't have a driver's license. So I said, okay, well, do you have a passport or anything? No, he did not. I had seen him before, you know, since Mr. Harris and I have been with the college going on now 20 years. I guess I have been seeing him around. And so, but not enough to do personal knowledge. And so, but as a result, he called someone at the college and asked if they would vouch for him. And then, so he went back to the college and brought that person back. And that person was what we call, you know, a living ID. So if you can just picture, instead of a physical driver's license or a physical passport, a person now was an ID. So that's why we say living ID. But of course, I had to give that person an oath, and then we were able to proceed with the notarization. Has anyone there?
As you can see on the screen here, the NNA called them, instead of a living ID, which is the same thing, a human ID. Again, it's the same thing. Okay, I'm going to check the roster now before we get too far into this.
Okay.
Okay. Kathleen Andrews.
I'm here.
Okay. Bonnie Arnold. Bonnie Arnold. Dora Blano.
It's Dora Blano, but it should be
Porter.
Porter. Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Erica Connolly.
I'm sorry, I'm here.
Okay. Lisa Donaldson.
I'm here.
Christopher Douglas.
I'm here.
Alvonda Ellison.
I'm here.
Tawanda Fenwick. Tawanda Fenwick.
I'm here.
Okay. Daisy Fryer.
I'm here.
Adrian Fullwood.
Present.
Tamara Ingram. Tamara Ingram. Demario Jones.
Here.
Deshidra Lanier.
Good evening, I'm here.
Okay. Chennai Monday.
Present.
Raymond Pear. Raymond Pear. Joanna Rose.
Here.
Alicia Robinson.
Here.
Deborah Shipman.
Present.
Sonia Smith.
Here.
Yvonne Spate.
Present.
Della Tomlin.
I'm here.
Marva Vincent.
Present.
DeWanda White.
Here.
Sharon Wilkins. Sharon Wilkins. Okay.
Okay. I was gonna say something. Okay, I'm going to turn the recording on. It was somebody remind me when we go on break to turn it off. And then when we come back from break, with somebody remind me to turn it back on, just in case, because I don't usually do the recording, but I'm gonna turn it on now.
Ms. Harris,
Yes.
someone was asking about where the wording for the swearing in is. It's on page 27, if they have the handbook.
Good. Let me turn this recording on. Record on the computer. Let's see how that works. Did y'all hear anything?
It's already recording.
It's already on, Ms. Harris.
Okay, great. Okay, now what page was that you say?
If they
Yeah,
go to
20.
26 and 27 gives you the information of that.
Let's do that. Okay, yeah, for taking the verification, the verbal declaration is
Oh.
here.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I want to see the exact wording. Where's the exact wording? Do you see the exact wording?
On page 27, is it on 27? No? Yes. Or it's
Okay.
just showing where they sign. So basically.
Right, yeah, but you know what it is, do you solemnly affirm or swear under penalties of
Yeah.
perjury or upon personal knowledge that, so no matter whether you're, doing it for a human being or whether you're doing it for a particular document, let's say you were, trying to notarize, name of a document, then you would refer to that document, but thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah. Did someone else say something? Okay, well, very good. So we just want to make sure we review that identification part again, because that is so important. Now we're gonna go to part 7, notarial certificates, and we're gonna do one more review of that. It was so interesting today being online. Do you know that one lady said, I've been a notary for 30 years. I'm not laughing. But she said, I've been notary for 30 years and I didn't know there was a handbook. Somebody else said, well, I didn't know, we were supposed to attach certificates. So I just want to make sure that you understand the different things that, you are to do as a notary. That's so important.
So I have a question, Ms. Elaine. So we attach loose certificates if the document does not have the notarial wording on it.
That's right. That's the basis of it.
Thank
So
you.
let's just look here at notarial certificates and what it's actually saying, even though we went over it last week though, but something may not have stuck with you. Let's see, effective October 1, 2020, the law requires that a certificate is completed for each and every notarial act. You understand that, right? If a certificate is not included in the record being notarized, and that goes back to your question, Adrian, a notarial officer will be required to affix a certificate in a manner addressed below. And then, of course, there's a different type of notarial certificate that's required for each type of notarial act. And do you remember the certificates that we went over last week? If not, let's take a look here.
We did
These
that
things
test
you wanna
witnessing
know.
one.
Because you all are moving on now. And so therefore you want to know this. Remember, we went over this. This is right on my website. When you go to my website, you're not going to see it outright. But it would be the name of my website, which is trustedagentservicesgroup.com/, and then resources. So these are the notarial certificates, and it depends. More than likely, you won't be doing an acknowledgement or a verification on oath or affirmation. And the reason why is because in most cases, this certificate language will be pre-printed on the document, in most cases. So therefore, if you certify a copy of a record, or whether it's on paper or whether it's electronic, or witnessing or attesting to a signature, meaning that with witnessing or attesting to a signature, there's no notarial language on the document, then you're going to have to apply this. If you're a member of the National Notary Association, I'm not sure, but you may be able to get it free of charge, or you can come here and download it. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you have it. All right.
So Miss Elaine, I had a question actually last class. So I'm assuming you and Mr. Fred are traveling with the copies of these certificates. Is that an accurate statement if you're going somewhere to perform a notarial act?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah. You keep, print out a couple of them and keep them with you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Miss Elaine,
Mm-hmm.
I think I might be out of sync with these classes because I registered for all three, but I guess this must be like the second step in
Yes,
the
it
classes.
is. Yes.
Okay. I just had a quick question. You know that sometimes they have the stamp, so it might be maybe it's an acknowledgement, or I can't think of the other, a jurat, and it has to stamp. Is that appropriate still if I just stamp that on a blank sheet of paper to attach, or it has to be one of those certificates that you were just showing on your site?
All right, now let's go to the Merlin Handbook. Okay. So here what we're doing, we're talking about certificates, right? So each notarial act shall be evidenced by a certificate. Okay, your question will be answered.
Okay.
But right now, I'm gonna answer it right now, no. But it's gonna be answered as we go along as to why. Okay, so now, each notarial act shall be evidenced by a certificate. What was another name for certificate? What does certificate really mean when you see that word or hear that word? Can somebody tell me?
Notary wording.
That's right. It's the notarial language. That's what we're referring to, that notarial language. That's the same as certificate. And it must be executed contemporaneously with the performance of a notarial act, meaning that you got to do it at that point in time. I'm telling you, it must be signed and dated by the notarial officer, if the notarial officer is a notary public. Identify the jurisdiction in which the notarial act was performed. So these are all requirements as to, what should be evidenced on a certificate. And I just want you to have the mindset to be able to go back to this handbook and just read. Sometimes we bring things with us from our past. We bring things with us from our occupation. But I want you to be able to go here and read it for what it really is and as to what we do. contain the title of the notarial officer, and if the notarial officer is the notary public, indicate the date of expiration, da, da, da. So this just saying each notarial act shall be evidenced by a certificate, and it goes on to explain that. Now, if a notarial act regarding a tangible record. Now, when we say tangible record, the fact that now we have remote notarization, which is electronic record, that's just distinguishing it from the fact that we're talking about on paper now. So if a notarial act regarding a tangible record is performed by a notary public, the notary public shall affix an official stamp or emboss a stamp to or emboss an official stamp on the certificate. And the certificate shall be part of or securely attached to the record. So again, this is saying that now the stamp they're talking about is the stamp with your information on it. So Avonda, this stamp is not notarial language. It doesn't say you stamp notarial language on it. So when it's referring to that stamp, that's the notary stamp there. So, and then when it says the certificate shall be part of, that's the same as saying it can be pre-printed on the document, you know, state, county. Then it says, or securely attached to the record. And now we're talking about the loose certificate that we just looked at. And then sometimes people ask, and they surely asked that question today, like, what does attached or fixed mean? And basically, you can staple it, you can tape it, whatever, but however you do it, as long as it is attached to that record or that document. And if a notarial act is performed regarding a tangible record by a notarial officer other than a notary public, the notarial officer may affix an official stamp to or emboss an official stamp on the certificate. All right, so that's for somebody else. So we're not dealing with that paragraph. And then the last paragraph, if a notarial act regarding an electronic record is performed by a notarial officer, the notarial officer may attach an official stamp to or logically associate an official stamp with the certificate. And the certificate shall be affixed to or logically associated with the electronic record. I don't think we want to get into that right now because that can be kind of confusing. Okay. Any other questions before we move on?
So basically, Ms. Harris, you're saying that the pre-stamp that says acknowledgement or witness and stuff that we cannot use to stamp on the document. We need
Right,
to
and that was
place
Wanda
a
was
loose.
asking.
Okay, yeah, okay. Just want to make sure you have to
And
place a loose.
and the
leaf.
reason why
Okay.
is because nowhere in the book does it say we can add language.
Oh,
Okay, we're not attorneys. We don't add this language. So okay, so you want to understand that's the reason why.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, okay, all right, Frederick.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again? Because I didn't fully understand that.
Okay. Okay, so the issue of what we were talking about, you know how, see in DC, I think that's what they require, whereby you can have the notarial language on a stamp and just stamp it on a document when the document doesn't have notarial language. That's not the way it is in Maryland. The notarial language has to be already pre-printed on the document. And if it's not pre-printed on the document, that's where the loose certificate come in. So we cannot add notarial language. As a notary, that's not our function in Maryland. Okay, Frederick.
Okay. How to perform different notarial acts. A notarial officer may perform the following notarial acts. Take an acknowledgement of a record. Take a verification on oath or affirmation of a statement. Witness or attest a signature. Certify or attest a copy of a record or an item that was copied. Certify that a tangible copy of an electronic record is an accurate copy of the electronic record, and make or note a protest of a negotiable instrument in accordance with Commercial Law, Article 3-505, Maryland Annotated Code. Okay. What is an acknowledgement? Okay. Acknowledgement means a declaration by an individual before a notarial officer that the individual has signed a record for purpose stated in the record, and if the record is signed in a representative capacity, the individual signs the record with proper authority and sign it as an act of the individual or entity identified in the record. So what that means is that the individual who is signing that record must be signing the record for whatever the stated purpose of that record. And that if the person who is signing up for that record or having the record notarized also must, if they're in a representative capacity, must be the authorized representative of that organization or group to be in a representative capacity for having that document notarized. A notarial officer who takes an acknowledgement of a record shall determine from personal knowledge or satisfactory evidence of the identity of the individual that the individual appearing before the notarial officer and making the acknowledgement has the identity claimed, and the signature on the record is the signature of the individual. So if someone brings the record to you and they bring the record to you already signed, then you must just identify them as the person who signed the record. And if they sign it in front of you, you know that that is the person who signed the record, is the person signing the record before you, the person that you're doing the acknowledgement for. If the person requesting the notarial act has signed the acknowledgement, well, I just said that. And now here are the steps that we need to go by in order to do an acknowledgement. The person making the acknowledgement must personally appear before the notarial officer, either in person or by using communication electronic technology. The notarial officer must properly identify the person requesting the notarial act. Record the details of the notarial act in the notary's journal. If not already signed by the person executing the record, observe the signing of the record. Take the spoken statement of the individual executing the record. Now, the spoken statement is the
Acknowledgement, right?
Yes, it's the what do we call that? The
Acknowledgement.
no, the I'll get back to you. I can't remember the wording now.
Okay.
If the person, the person making the acknowledgement must state to the notary public that the document constitutes his act or deed. What I'm talking about is taking, what is the oath, or not the oath, but the what do we call that when we have them say that this is their document and they're doing it willingly?
Acknowledgement.
No, what is it? There's
Affirmation?
Acknowledgement.
no, there's another wording for that.
Right? No.
Okay, I'm not
I
sure
can't
what
think of it
it
in a
is.
moment, but anyway, I'll come back into it in a moment.
Okay.
Also complete and sign the notarial certificate on the record and apply the notary stamping device to the notarial certificate or affixed or logically associated with the record. Any questions about that?
Okay, I know what you're talking about, verbal declaration,
Verbal declaration, that's it, verbal declaration.
which is the
What is it?
acknowledgement for this type of notarization.
Right,
The
yes,
verbal declaration, they are acknowledging, that's why they have this here in parentheses, that, you know, that this is their signature and they're doing it willingly. That's what's
Oh, yeah.
happening there.
with the verbal declaration, if you know, you ask them, is this your signature or are you doing it willingly? You also ask them, if they're signing in front of you, how are you doing it willingly? So if they've already signed it, is this their signature and are you doing it willingly? Or if they sign it in front of you, just ask them, are you doing this willingly? That's the verbal declaration I was trying to think about. I couldn't remember at the moment. Any
Okay.
questions about acknowledgements? So the person must prove that they who they say they are for an acknowledgement. Okay.
And you're gonna find that for all of them, like number one here, that's gonna be for all of them.
Right. And number
All
two,
of the types of notarization. Now going back up here, Mr. Harris read this here, but you want to get in your head, these are the 6 types of notarization. Okay. There they are right there, all 6 of them. And then it's going to proceed to explain them, but we're, so there are 4, let's see, was there something else? Yeah, and then that's that acknowledgement. And then this is the certificate wording, right? And if you were looking at the loose certificate, it would be the same wording. It's the same wording, you know, just formatted differently. Somebody bring you that document, what you gonna do? And you establish that it's an acknowledgement, you don't have to think any further. You come right here and you follow these steps. Any questions? Everybody got it, right? Okay.
Yep.
All right, well, we're gonna have some exercises. Mhm. All right. Okay, so here we are looking at another type of notarization. Take a verification on oath or affirmation of a statement. All right, so this is another verbal declaration. It says verification on oath or affirmation means a declaration, in which we've been saying verbal declaration, right? It's the same thing, made by an individual on oath or affirmation before a notarial officer that a statement in a record is true, or that a remotely located individual has the identity claim. A notarial officer who takes verification on oath or affirmation of a statement shall determine from personal knowledge, you know, their identity. So we don't have to go over that anymore because we've gone over that. Now, and this reiterates, if the person requesting the notarial act has signed the verification on oath or affirmation prior to appearing before the notarial officer, then the notarial officer no longer needs to make the person sign again. You know, the notarial officer, by receiving the verification on oath or affirmation from the individual after having satisfactorily identified the individual, is verifying that the signature on the record is the signature of the individual. And again, these are the steps. And now let me ask you a question from what we've gone over. In that notarial language, how will you know it's a verification on oath or affirmation versus an acknowledgement? Hey, y'all kind of quiet.
Would it be that it's sworn?
Sworn.
Right, the language, right. You would look at the language, and so what you want to think about it is what language in this notarial wording compels truthfulness, because it also could be true. You might, you know, see true. You might see made oath. So it's like, is there any language in here that compels truthfulness? So that would be a distinguishing factor between the two. Now, I haven't talked this over with the guy at the Secretary of State's office, but it's always, you know, like when I look at this and it says oath or affirmation. And of course, I get all into the or stuff. So when you do that verbal declaration, do you solemnly affirm or swear under penalties of perjury, da 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 da? And so that could be fine. But what has made me think about this even more is when a signing agent called me, and he was kind of upset because after doing a loan closing, the signer reported him to the title company because he asked, do you solemnly swear or affirm? He was offended by that. And so as we know, Fred, could you kind of explain the swearing part and the affirm part about it?
Sure. When you ask, do you solemnly swear, they're swearing to a supreme being, okay? So such as God. But when you ask them to solemnly affirm the information in a document, then they're swearing on their own honor, which means they're not swearing to a supreme being. And either or is okay in the state of Maryland. So if you ask them to swear, solemnly swear, then again, it's to a supreme being. And the other one has to do with the person swearing on their own individual honor. But they both have the same amount of weight when the person is raising their right hand before you. And they sometimes prefer that you have them raise their right hand, whether it's affirm or swear.
And depending on the person's religion, they, you know, just depends whether or not they really want to swear to a divine being or they want to do it on their own honor. So there are different ways, you know, that you can work around that. You could have something in writing that says, usually with this type of notarization, you are asked to swear or affirm. Which do you choose? Or you could verbally say that to them, or the fact that, you know, you're new and you're learning this, you can just simply do what we talked about in the beginning. Do you solemnly swear or affirm? But understand that we don't know how the other person may feel. So if you get some type of feedback, then you would know how to adjust what you say, whether you say both of them or whether you say one or the other. Any questions about that?
Could I just choose
A
to,
question.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Yeah, I have a question. I'm not really clear on the difference between the two.
Okay, so the difference is that religious people sometimes may want to swear to God, you know.
Oh, no, not that, but I'm talking the difference between those, the certs. There's a difference between those two certs. That's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm not, yeah,
Two what?
the two certificates, two certs.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure on that.
Are you talking between an acknowledgement and a verification? Or are you talking about between oath and affirmation?
Oath and affirmation.
Well, it's one, you know, basically certificate. It compels truthfulness. But like Mr. Harris says, if you take a verification on oath, the signer swears to a divine being.
Uh-huh.
If you take a verification on affirmation, then the signer is swearing, not swearing, but is what, Fred?
Well, actually, they are swearing on their own honor.
Right.
Swearing on their own honor.
Right.
But the certificate that you use is the same for both.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's not that, it's the other one, those two different certificates.
You told me what we went for on acknowledgement?
Right, the acknowledgement. I understand the acknowledgement, but I'm trying to figure out the difference between the acknowledgement and I guess you call it the affirmation. Whatever.
And the verification, the verification compels truthfulness from the signer.
Okay.
They must swear to the truth of the information in that document. With an acknowledgement, all they're doing is verifying that they are who they say they are and that they are the people who are.
Okay. And they don't have to, okay, and they don't have to sign again, something like that.
They don't have to do what?
They don't have to.
In every case, they have to sign either in front of you or bring it to you already signed. If they bring it to you already signed, they don't have to sign again.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And that's right here, somewhere, right?
Yes, in there somewhere.
So again, Deborah,
Mm-hmm.
what we're saying is right in here. These are the steps. So look at number 4. Is that what you were referencing?
Right,
So so that's for the verification oath affirmation. And if we go back up here, let's see what it says for number 4, for the acknowledgement. What does it say?
That already signed by the person.
The same thing, right? Okay. So again, I just want to get you all acclimated to referencing the handbook when we're not around.
I guess
Okay.
when I have hands-on, I I can do it better. And so I'm just listening, you know, a little different.
Okay, all right. Was there another question?
Yes, my name's Erica. I just wanted to ask if, to avoid offending anyone,
Mm-hmm.
as the affirmation or swearing,
Mm-hmm.
could I just say, do you solemnly affirm?
That's what I
Yes.
do.
Yes.
That's what I do. I don't try to get into whether a person's religious
Right,
or not. So
that's
I
what I'm
always say,
thinking.
I always say, do you solemnly affirm? That way I don't have to deal with the
Right.
religious part of it.
All right, that's my intent. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. That's right. You can do that. Any other question? Okay, so yes. Very good question there. And again, look at the language here for the notarization. See the certificate wording. What does it say? Signed and sworn. You know, it has. So now take a look at this. So what wording in this certificate language lets you know that is verification on oath of affirmation? And don't look at the italicized words. That's just explanation. So what word do you see? Word or words?
Sworn.
Sworn too.
Tell me that one more time.
Sworn.
Sworn too.
Sworn or affirm.
Sworn or affirm.
Right, sworn or affirm. Right. Not the word sign now.
Oh.
Sworn or affirm. Absolutely. All right, so I hope you're appreciating and seeing the differences now. Sometimes when you read something the first time, it reads one way, and then you got to come back and read it again.
So, excuse me, so when you said affirm and sworn, what certificate would that be? Affirmation certificate?
That's the one that you're
What are we
looking at.
talking about here? With, you know, see right here, what are we speaking about?
Verification of oath.
Uh-huh, that's what we're talking about right now.
Affirmation, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, so that's the certificate wording for this type of notarization. Okay, Frederick, we're moving on to another type of notarization.
Okay, witness or attesting a signature. Signature means a tangible symbol or an electronic signature that evidences the signing of a record. A notarial officer who witnesses or attests a signature shall determine from personal knowledge or satisfactory evidence of the identity of the person, of the individual, that the individual appearing before the notarial officer and signing the record has the identity claimed. This notarial act that a notarial officer will perform I'm sorry, where am I?
Right here.
Okay. This is a notarial act that the notarial officer will perform in a situation where there is no notarial wording already present on the record, and the person requesting the notarial act simply wants their signature to be notarized. This notarial act replaces what was previously known as notary as an official witness under the old law. Unless a person requesting a notarial act requests a different notarial act, witnessing or attesting to a signature is most likely the correct notarial act to perform, which requires a certificate to attach to a record to indicate the notarial act has been performed. So what this means is that if someone comes to you with a document that has no notarial wording on it, as a notary, you're not allowed to offer a notarial certificate. You're not allowed to give legal advice. And by offering a notarial certificate to them, like a oath or verification on oath of affirmation or acknowledgement form, if you offer that to them or if you show it to them, then the state of Maryland considers you giving legal advice. So if somebody brings you a document that has no notarial wording on it, what you can do is act as a witness or attesting to a signature. So what that person will do is, if they bring the document to you already signed, then you ask them to attest to the fact that this is their signature. But if they bring to you a document that has not been signed, you're going to witness them signing that document. And that's all you're doing. You're going to witness them signing a document or have them attest to the fact that this is their signature. And then you add a loose certificate to that for witness and attest that requires them that you can use to notarize that document. Is there any way you can show that?
Yes,
Elaine?
yes, just get ready to do that. So this is witness and attest.
Yes.
All right, so we come down here, click here.
Now, this is the form that you would use to notarize that document. And this is for witness and attest. So that if the document comes to you with no notary wording on it, this is what you would use. You put in, the state of Maryland and the county in which the notarizations take place. You fill out the next part of it, the date, and the word by means to the person who is coming before you. You sign your signature, put your title, and then when your commission expires. And at the bottom down here.
And stamp to the left.
Yeah, you stamp to the left, yes. Yeah, make sure you put your stamp there. And then down here at the bottom, you just put in what type of record it is, just look at the title of it, but write down the title. The date that you're doing this, if there are many pages, put in a number of pages. And then if anybody else's name's on there, other than the signer, then you put that information there. Any questions about witness or attest?
In the title of notarial officer, is that just notary public? What do you put
No,
there?
there's a notary public, there's a magistrate, there's a judge, there's a clerk of circuit court. Those all can be, all of those
Okay.
can notarize documents.
So it would just be notary public is all we would put, correct?
Right.
Notary public is what we,
Okay.
because we're not a magistrate, we're not a judge, we're not a clerk of circuit court. Okay, so now, again, the steps down here at the bottom are pretty much the same as others, except, let's see now, well, let's read the steps. Again, it says the person must appear before you. The notary also must identify the person. You must record the details in your journal. Now, again, if not already signed, have them sign it in front of you. Then you complete that certificate we just saw, and you apply your stamp or stamp to the notarial wording and attach the two documents together.
And if you notice, like, remember when we looked at the other two notarizations, number 4 is really 1, 2, 3, and 4 are the same.
Right.
If not already signed, those are the steps. And then you come down here and see what else is showing. So let's look at the wording, which we just did though, but it actually says, it doesn't say acknowledge, does it?
Right.
It doesn't say, what is that? Swear or affirm.
Mm-mm.
It says signed or attested before me. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Miss Harris, I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
So back to the, she said the officer. So if we're performing as a typic, I want to make sure that I'm signing consistently. So, I mean, if that's our title, do we have to put
Your
notary?
title's still notary. When you're doing notarization, your title's still notary public.
Okay,
Is that your question?
yes, sir.
Yeah, your title's still
Okay.
notary public.
Okay.
I have a question. So
Go ahead.
if we got a documentation that had the notarial language on it, we just fill it out normally, put our stamp on it and sign, write your expiration on your commission on it.
That's
That's
correct,
it.
yes.
And we don't
Yes.
have to attach any certificate to
If it
it.
already has a certificate on it, then you use that certificate that's on there.
You use it. Okay, all right.
That's
Thank you.
what they call a pre-printed certificate.
Okay, all right, then, thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I ask you a question? How often, Mr. and Mrs. Harris, does somebody come to you and you actually have to go into your booklet of certificates and actually attach it to the document? How often does that happen to you guys?
Well, I've been a notary signing agent or a typicate for almost 18 years. I do very little outside.
19.
Yeah, 19 years. So I do very little outside notarizations. But I imagine if you're doing a lot of outside notarizations, a lot of people can bring a lot of documents to you that may not have notarial wording on it. So it may happen more than you think.
So if you're notarizing for the Journal of Public,
You should have certificates.
a lot of times, you will use this. See, and when I was working, can't believe it's going on 9 years now that I've been retired, but when I was working, I notarized for the public. You know, I let my supervisor know that I was a notary, and she understood my role as a state officer. So it was no problem. It wasn't part of my job description, but people knew they could come to me and get something notarized. So you know, you want to be able to think about that also with notarization, because the general public, they'll just bring you whatever, you know. Somebody might say, the school might tell their child to have their parent write a note giving them permission to go on a field trip. So the parent just going to write a note, but you know, but they tell them get it notarized. So they'll bring something like that to you to be notarized, and it will not have any notarial language on it. But again, I think it happens quite often when you are notarizing for the general public. And I do a lot of notarizing for the general public also. Okay, all right, good questions, very, very good questions. All right, so now we're gonna look at certify or attest a copy of a record. So doing one or the other, what are we doing here? So it says, a notarial officer who certifies or attests a copy of a record or any item that was copied. Okay, I want y'all to pay attention to that. We went over this last week, but I want to make sure you pay attention. Let me read that one more time. A notarial officer who certifies or attests a copy of a record, okay? Then it says, or an item that was copied. So how many things have been certified here? What's the possibility? One or two?
It could be two.
Two.
Right. And okay, shall determine that the copy is a full, true, and accurate transcription or reproduction of the record or item. Because I think in the last, I think it was the last class when, you know, it made me think about this twice, because we had talked about somebody bringing a driver's license and asking, you know, it to be copy certified. And so therefore you think about that physical driver's license as being the original document. And then if that person makes a copy of it, then you know that it's a true copy of it because you watch them make a copy of it, something like that. All right, but my point here is that suppose, okay, listen to me carefully. Suppose they brought you a copy of their driver's license and asked you to certify it.
We would have to get them make a copy of the copy.
We have the copy.
Right, because you have to have two documents, something to compare it to.
Yes.
That's right. So that's very good, because I want you to understand that just because something is a copy of something doesn't mean it's not the original. The original is whatever they bring you. So they could bring you something that was a copy of something, but in essence, that's what they brought you, and that's the original document that they want you to certify or attest to. Any questions? Fred, did I say that right?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
You said it, but I'm sorry, you did say it, but I need for you to say that one more time. So if an individual brings a copy of a document, and that's the original, we have
right, whatever they bring you is
the original. Okay,
yeah.
So okay. The original, okay.
Because sometimes we can get that kind of confused, you know, what is an original?
Okay, so whatever they bring is the original.
So Sonia.
Yes,
Sonia,
sir. Yes, sir.
So if someone brings you a copy of their driver's license on a piece of paper, but does not show you a driver's license, and they copy that copy, then the first one they bring you is the original.
Oh, okay.
See, that's how that works. So even if they don't bring you the original driver's license, but they bring you a copy of the driver's license, they make a copy of that. That first one that they brought you is the original.
Okay. But we got to make sure that they make a copy of it. Got it.
Right. Or either you can make a copy of it.
Okay. Right. Either or. Okay.
Right. But the main thing is whatever they bring you is the original. That's considered, well, let's say that's considered the original document. So let's take a look here at, okay, so now if that were to happen, number 1 remains the same, number 2, number 3 remains the same, but then number 4 kind of changes. Let me see, because remember number 4 for the other 3 types of notarization said that if, what did it say? If it had already been signed, remember that?
Mhm.
This says, if the copy of the record was not already created by the person requesting the notarial act, then you observe the copying of the record. And then if the record was already copied by the person requesting the notarial act, examine the original and the copy to ensure the copy's full, true, and accurate reproduction of the original record. So the concept is the same, just that we're dealing now with a copy as opposed with a signature. Y'all with me?
Yep.
Oh, okay, good. And then, and now, you know what? I just said something. I just said number 4 here. We're dealing with a copy of a record and not a signature, right?
Mhm.
Y'all heard me say that, didn't you?
Mhm.
Now, what is different about this type of notarization? Guess what? The signer does not sign the document at all. Y'all know, y'all, did that register with you?
So the
It
signer doesn't sign.
does,
the
because,
sign-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So the signer does not sign at all because it's just a copy of the record.
Right. Well, this type of notarization, it is not requiring the signer's signature.
So we just need to attach a signature, a certificate verifying that we confirmed that it is a copy.
Well, let's go down to number 5. And what does that say? Yeah. And now the notarial language could be on that document. It could be. And then it may not be. See number 5?
Mhm.
But the point we were making was that nowhere do you see where it asks for the signer's signature. So if you were doing a copy certification, all those steps would be in place except the signer doesn't sign the document. And you would attach a certificate if it was not present on the record. If it was not present on the record. Do y'all see the difference though in this one?
But is there an example of somebody bringing something like that in that they would need our services for? Is that a stupid question?
Well, we're talking about, let's say okay, pretend like, all right, so let's pretend like somebody brought you a copy of a driver's license. And they ask you to certify as a copy. You know, they're not gonna say, will you do a copy certification? Because they don't know the word or nothing, but they've been asked by some entity to certify a copy of that record. Okay?
Okay.
So if they ask you to certify a copy of that record, whether, it was the original driver's license or whether it was a copy of the driver's license, whatever they bring you is the original. And then you would either observe them making a copy of it. Okay, now once they make a copy of it, and if there's no notarial language on that document, then you will attach a loose certificate. But nowhere does it state the signer signs the document. Let's go back. Look at number 4 here. So let's go back to number 4 here. What does it say? If not already signed by the person, right? That was witnessing and attesting. Let's go back to number 4 here for verification. What does number 4 say? If not already signed. Let's go back to acknowledgement. What does number 4 say? If not already signed.
Mhm.
But for the copy certification, they do not sign that. So what's going to happen? You're going to get this one day and you're going to remember this conversation. And then you're going to know to go here and simply follow these steps and you can't go wrong.
Got you.
Ms. E.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at the journal. So basically the date of the document, of course, have to be there and what you're actually doing, which is the certifying or testing. And if they bring you that, like that example that you said, they don't have to sign. So they don't have to sign, but we just put exactly what it was. Certifying or testing of a document on the journal.
Well, in the column that asks for the type of notarization, then you would put this type of notarization.
Exactly.
Right. So as opposed to putting an acknowledgement or witnessing or
Right.
testing, you would
Certify or
put this.
test.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So we're going to stop there as far as the notarization part is concerned. And then we're going to talk a little bit about fees, and then we're going to have a break here.
Okay.
You should have heard those questions about fees today, boy. I declare. But
Yes,
apparently
you gotta
the
pause
person,
your recording, pause your recording. Is this a break?
not quite. We're gonna go over fees, and then after that, remind me. All right.
Okay. Now, again, we read this last time, but we'll go over it again so you completely understand what this is all about. A notary public may demand and receive up to $4 for performing an original notarial act or remote notarial act. A notary public may demand and receive reimbursement at the prevailing rate for mileage established by the Internal Revenue Service for business travel and a fee not to exceed $5 for travel if required for performance of the notarial act. When a notary public is requested to notarize more than one copy of the same record, where the copy or copies have been signed at the same time by the same person or persons, the notary may demand and receive $4 for each notarial act on the original or first copy of the record, and may demand and receive $1 for each notarial act on each additional copy of the same record. Okay, so what that is saying is that if someone brings you a document that has to must be notarized, you can charge $4 for an original signature on the original document, okay? So if there are 3 people signing an original document, you will charge $4 for each of the 3 people, which would be, for that form, would be $12. But if they bring a document to you that has copies with it, okay, of the same document, then, and you have to notarize all 3 copies, then the other copies rather, then you have to charge $1 for each signature on that second or third copy. So this is how that happens. If 3 people come to you, have a document notarized, and you notarize the first one, you charge them $12 for the first copy. If there's a second copy there, you charge them $1 each for the second copy. If there's a third copy, again, $1 each. So in that notarization, you charge $12 for the first copy, $3 for the second copy, and $3 for the third copy. Now, say you have to travel to these people to notarize this document. Well, the Internal Revenue Service says that the travel fee is 58.5 per mile. So, and a fee not to exceed $5 for travel. Well, how that works is that if you travel to them, say you travel to them 10 miles, okay, then you charge them round trip. So you charge them for 20 miles for traveling to them, plus a fee of $5 to do that notarization. So you charge them $18 plus whatever the fee is times 20 times 58.5 plus $5. So let me calculate that for you right here, because I have not done that calculation lately.
That fee goes up every
Yeah,
January.
no, so it's $11.60, I think it is, for, yeah, $11.60 for travel, plus $5, plus $18. That comes to,
I'm lost somewhere.
9, 2,
So
plus
you
5.
lost,
Okay, I'm gonna explain to you in a moment. So you charge them $18 plus $11.60 plus $5, okay?
Hold on.
$11,
Okay.
$11.60 is for mileage. That's 58 cents for for mileage, okay? That's 20 miles, plus the $18 for the notarization, plus a fee of up to $5 for you leaving your office or you leaving your house, okay?
I think we should start back over with the. with the first copy.
$34.60.
$34.60, right?
Yeah.
Yep, $34.60.
Well, honey, I've been undercharged and I don't know what I'm doing in my case.
It's just only if you travel to someone, okay?
No,
If they
I
come to you,
travel.
if they come to you, then you can't charge those other fees, okay?
Yeah, I
But if you travel
know.
to someone, you charge whatever the Internal Revenue says the mileage is for travel, you know?
Yeah, I get that
Okay.
part.
Okay, and then you can do it round trip.
Can we go back over I think we should start with the 3 people and the 12 and all that stuff.
Okay,
so it's
for the
$4.
notarization, for the
Yes.
notarization of the document itself, okay? If 3 people come to you and they have a document, a document with one document with 2 copies of that document, well, on the first copy, okay, which they call the first copy or the original, it's $4 for each signature on that original copy. So that'd be $4 for each person, comes to $12. For copy number 1, okay, you charge $1 for each signature. Again, that's $3 for that copy number 2. Okay, for copy number 3, $1 for each signature. That's $3 for that copy number copy number 3. So that's $12 plus $3 plus $3, which comes to $18. Okay.
Yep.
Then you charge the travel fee, plus for leaving your home or office, you can charge up to $5 as an administrative fee.
Is that 58.5, is that right?
Yes.
58.5 times 20?
Well, 20,
But
yeah.
shouldn't
That
it
ain't
be,
right.
Actually, I would do
Something I'm
Should
doing
be-
wrong.
it should be point, it should be
0.585.
It should be point what?
0.585.
Yes, and it comes to 11.
0.585.
0.585, yes. 0.585
should be
Times 20.
1170.
times 20.
Times 20.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's what I got.
Okay, that makes
1170,
sense. 1170. And then, all right, so that's the
Plus, yeah,
mileage.
put Elaine, yeah, put
Uh-huh.
plus 18.
Okay, 18.
Plus-
So
plus eight-
so
plus
so
18.
that was plus the 12. Oh man, then
No,
plus
no.
the 3. Then plus the 3.
Shouldn't that be plus 18?
Right, it should have been plus 18. Go back, Elaine.
12 and 3 and 3 is 18, right?
Yeah.
I just
Okay,
wanted
okay.
to break it down.
Okay, right,
so-
okay. And then plus 5.
That right?
Okay, 3470, yes.
So let's do it one more time.
Okay,
The
clear.
3 original notarizations were $12, right?
Yes,
And then the first copy for 3 signatures, it was $3.
yes,
And then the second copy for 3 signatures, it was $3.
yes.
For the mileage, what was it, 1120?
1170.
1170, let me see now, plus 1170 for the mileage,
Yes.
and then plus
Plus 5.
travel fee up to $5.
Yes.
So that's how we come up with that, and you break it down. Everybody okay? Kind of quiet.
Yeah, I just wanted to make
No,
sure.
we're-
Yeah, got it.
No, we were good. That was a good breakdown.
Yeah.
Okay. But there was one question I had today when we were online with the Secretary of State's office. Look, y'all see my mouse here, right? Then it says, let's see. And may demand and receive $1. Let me see now.
No,
For each, was that it?
no, the next one.
The next, oh, right here. Okay, it says a notary may demand and receive not more than $1 for each photocopy made of a notarial act if asked to make copies of documents that were notarized. So then my question to him was, suppose the document was 100 pages. But then he explained it. He said that this is referencing the page that the notarial act was performed on. And now, okay, I noticed they also talk about where the law was silent. So if somebody did want you to make 100 pages of something, whereby only one page had a notarial, the notarial act was performed. So there's no law about what you're going to charge for page 1 through 99. That's up to you, from what I can understand. But I'm going to.
That's the understanding I got too. that
Yeah.
You only charge that $1 for the notary
Notarial
page.
act, but the
Yeah.
law is silent on anything else. But
That's
I
right.
will email him tomorrow and ask for a confirmation of what I'm thinking. Okay, and yeah, I will do that. And within the next couple of days, you all will be receiving from me something called a time to learn. And then I have a couple of things that I want you all to hone in on about learning. So, okay. All right, so it's 8 o'clock, so let's take a break and we'll be back at 8:15 and we'll finish up, okay? And I will turn my mic off and my video off.
Okay.
All right, 8:15 now.
Miss Lane,
Yes, dear.
you have a phone number I can call and ask you a question, not in regards to this, but I just got a notarial thing, assignment, and I want to make sure I'm correct if I'm able to do it
Okay, when is the assignment?
tomorrow. They want me to come and notarize something tomorrow. But I
Oh,
have
you
a
want to
question.
call? You want to call
Yes.
me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me see now. Where's my phone? I don't have my phone down here. Give me your number.
202-913-5559.
All right, I have to run upstairs to get my phone. I'll call you in a second.
Okay, thank you.